The thing about being the quiet one in the family is that nobody sees you until they need something, or until you stop showing up. My name's Ryan. I'm 30. I live just outside Seattle in a quiet little house with foggy windows and no expectations. Every morning I make a cup of coffee, drive 10 minutes to the office, and do my job, the one my family still thinks involves fixing gadgets or tightening screws. I co-founded a sustainable energy company. We're doing pretty well. But my parents? My sister? They never asked? Never cared. They just assumed I was doing something blue-collar and vaguely disappointing. And honestly, I let them. Because it wasn't worth the effort to correct people who'd already decided who I was. I hadn't spoken to my parents, or my sister Jessica in over 2 years. No birthdays, no holidays, no. How are you doing? Just silence. And you know what? For a while, that silence felt okay. But 2 years ago, I decided to break it. I booked a trip home for my mom's birthday. Took time off work. Cleared the calendar. Figured maybe enough time had passed. Maybe I could show up early, help with prep, just like I used to. No drama, no pride. Just family. So I called home. My dad answered on the second ring. I'm coming a few days early this year, I said. Let me know if you need anything picked up. There was a pause. A long one. Then his voice came back, flat. He sounded like he was chewing on nails. Ryan, maybe don't come home this year. I thought I misheard him. Sorry, what? Jessica's bringing her boyfriend. He's someone important, a manager, from a good family. Carries himself well. Talks like a professional. Then came the hammer. And your job. It's hard to explain. It doesn't reflect well. I swear, for a second, I forgot how to breathe. You're uninviting me? I asked, stunned. Because I don't look good next to Jessica's boyfriend. He didn't deny it. Didn't backtrack. Just doubled down. You showing up would embarrass the whole family. If you still insist on coming, don't call me your father. And just like that, click. He hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, holding a cooling cup of coffee in one hand and the weight of that sentence in the other. If you still insist on coming, don't call me your father. Those words didn't come from anger. They came from certainty. Like he'd been waiting to say them for years. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd misheard. Maybe he didn't mean it. But the tone was clear, cold, measured, practiced. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just stood there. Staring. Remembering. Remembering that I'd been quietly paying my parents' electricity, water, and internet bills for the last 2 years. Every month. On time. No questions asked? And suddenly a new voice in my head whispered. If I'm the family's shame, what exactly is Jessica? The thing about betrayal is, it rarely announces itself with fireworks. It creeps in on quiet conversations and gut punches that don't leave bruises. And that phone call? That was my gut punch. But what came after, that was clarity. I sat down at my kitchen table, still holding the coffee I'd made before the call. It was cold now. Not that it mattered. The bitterness wasn't in the mug. I opened my laptop and pulled up my banking history. It wasn't even hard to find. Every month, the same 3 payments went out like clockwork, pulled automatically from my business account, like tiny acts of loyalty no one asked for and no one appreciated. Puget Sound Electric, $137.12. Glenmere Water Authority, $96.23. Cascade Net Internet, $142.11. Each one was tagged with their address. Each one paid without fail for over 2 years. That added up to over $9,800 in forgotten kindness. And not once, did anyone call to say thank you. No text. No card. No. Hey, we appreciate you. But now I wasn't presentable. Not good enough to share a meal with them. Because Jessica was bringing someone important, some mid-level manager with a 6-figure LinkedIn profile and a face made for filters. And I guess standing next to him in my jeans and flannel shirt would be too much reality for my parents to stomach. My jaw clenched as I scrolled back through the records. Each line item felt like another slap I didn't realize I'd already taken. I remembered the first call clearly. 2 years ago, after Dad's last job had fizzled out and they couldn't make ends meet. Mom called me, voice trembling. Sweetheart, your dad's too proud to ask, but the bills they're getting tight. Could you help, just until we get through the winter? That winter turned into 2 years. And not once did anyone bring it up again, except when something wasn't working, or when a payment confirmation didn't arrive on time. So I sat there, fingers still on the trackpad, staring at the truth in transaction history. And then I started clicking. Cancel autopay. Remove payment method. Deactivate login access. It was surgical. Clean. Quiet. I didn't do it to get revenge. I didn't even do it out of anger. I did it because I realized, in one soul-fracturing moment, that I was never part of the family picture they were trying to paint. I was just the utility that made the lights work. I left the browser open. Stared at the blank space where the next payment due reminder used to be. And for the first time in months, I breathed a little deeper. I didn't hear from them for a week. Then, like clockwork, a text from Mom. Hey sweetie, hope you're doing okay. The internet bill came in late. Can you handle that? Love you. Love me. Not. Sorry for what we said. Not. We miss you. Just. Handle that. I didn't respond. 3 days later, voicemail from Dad. Power company called. Said payment bounced? What's happening? Call me. No. Hey son. No. We shouldn't have said what we said. Just. Fix this. That was the moment it sank in. They didn't want me at Mom's birthday because they were afraid I'd embarrass them. But they still wanted me to fund the party. The candles. The cake. The lights. Just not my presence. And I realized then, my value to them ended where my money stopped. So I put my phone on silent, folded my laptop shut, and waited. Not for chaos. Not for an apology. Just for reality to hit them the same way it hit me. The thing about a power outage is that it doesn't happen all at once. It stutters. The lights flicker. The fridge hums, then goes quiet. The silence settles like fog. It started just after sunset on the night of my mom's birthday. I wasn't there. But I didn't need to be. Erin was my cousin, the only person in the family who still talked to me like I wasn't an unpaid background extra in the movie of Jessica's Perfect Life. She texted me around 6:40 p.m. Power just cut out. The whole house went dark. Aunt Leslie nearly screamed. I smiled. Not because I was proud. Because for the first time, the darkness wasn't mine. According to Erin, it was picture-perfect chaos. They just sat down for dinner. The table was full, charcuterie board, candles, birthday banner hanging crookedly over the fireplace. Jessica and her boyfriend Nathan were at the head of the table. He wore a blazer. She wore a fake, modest smile. My mom was glowing, playing hostess, pouring wine, acting like her daughter had brought home royalty. Then the lights blinked. Once. Twice. Gone. At first, they thought it was the breaker. Dad got up, muttering, "I've got it," like he was some kind of electrician. But when he opened the panel, there was no click. No fix. Because the bill hadn't been paid. Because I hadn't paid it. And that's when it started to fall apart. They tried calling Puget Sound Electric. After waiting on hold for 15 minutes, the agent told them the account had been deactivated. When Dad asked why, the answer was simple. The person responsible for payments removed themselves from the account. Boom. Now, I didn't hear this firsthand. But Erin? Erin was live updating me from the bathroom like a gossip correspondent during a war zone. Jessica just asked if it was a neighborhood thing. Nathan is looking around like he stepped into a low-income sitcom. Aunt Leslie just offered to call her handyman. I don't think she understands how electricity works. Your dad just said, I kid you not, he probably did this on purpose. I nearly choked on my tea. What's wild is that not one person thought, maybe we did this to ourselves. They didn't ask. Did we push him away? Did we cross a line? Did we reduce our son to a shameful footnote? No. They went straight to, he sabotaged us. Because it's easier to blame the person who finally walked away than to admit you gave them every reason to leave. An hour later, Erin texted again. Internet's out too. Jessica can't even load Google to look up solutions. The house feels like a cave. They're eating in silence. Chef's kiss. Jessica tried to spin it. This happens sometimes. The neighborhood's old. To which Nathan replied, bless his condescending heart. Where I live, we get notifications before things get shut off. We have backup generators. Translation. What kind of broken circus did you bring me to? The night unraveled from there. The fridge wasn't cooling. The music was gone. The cake candles barely held out. And somewhere in all of that low-light discomfort, my parents finally felt the version of darkness I'd lived in for years. Not literal, emotional. The kind where you're present, but not wanted. The kind where you're part of the family on the bills, but not in the photos. I didn't say anything that night. Didn't text. Didn't call. Just sat in my apartment, ate leftover takeout, and watched my phone buzz with secondhand justice. Because sometimes, the only thing more powerful than speaking your truth is making them feel what it's like when you stop being their silent support system. The first message came in the next morning. Not from my dad. Not from Jessica. From my mom. She sent a voice memo, probably because she couldn't figure out how to type what she wanted to say without it sounding worse than it already was. Her voice was soft. Controlled. Rehearsed. Ryan, honey. There was a mix-up with the utilities last night. Everything went out during the party. We didn't realize how much you'd been helping us. We're so grateful, truly. Could you possibly help us get things sorted today? Grateful. Now that the wine glasses were clinking in the dark. Now that Jessica's boyfriend had gotten a taste of their unpolished reality. But what stuck out most wasn't the apology, because there wasn't one. There was no, we shouldn't have said that to you. No. We were wrong. Just, there was a mix-up. As if I had accidentally taken their dignity off autopay. 10 minutes later, a call from Dad. Straight to voicemail. Ryan, you've made your point. But if you want to talk like an adult, call me back. An adult. This is from the man who told me not to call him my father if I insisted on showing up to a birthday dinner. I didn't answer. Didn't block him either. Because ignoring someone hurts more when they know you saw their name flash across the screen, and chose silence. By noon, I'd gotten 4 texts from Mom, 2 from Dad, and finally, a single message from Jessica. Short. Clinical. Like she was billing me for her emotional labor. I'm sorry if what Dad said upset you. I had nothing to do with it. But now things are really bad here. Nathan thinks our family is a mess. Can you help us fix the utility thing so we can move forward? No. I'm sorry I didn't defend you. No. I'm sorry I let them shame you. Just. Can you fix it? Like I was a maintenance guy for their self-inflicted storm. I stared at that message for a while. Typed out a few responses. Deleted them all. But then something in me shifted. I realized I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to teach a lesson. I wanted the truth out, just once. Said plainly. With no rage. No guilt. Just finality. So I replied with exactly one message. You all made it clear that I embarrass you. So let me make it easier. You won't have to worry about me showing up or paying your bills ever again. That was it. No emojis. No. Love you anyway. No. Maybe someday. Just the end of the line. Jessica didn't reply. Neither did Mom. Dad waited 3 days, then sent me a message that read, We gave you everything. And this is how you repay us? I laughed. Laughed out loud in my kitchen. They gave me everything? They gave me shame when I came home. They gave me invisibility in family photos and backhanded praise at holidays. Ryan's doing something with tech, I think? No. What they gave me was permission. Permission to stop carrying people who only clap for you when they think it makes them look good. So I took that permission and ran with it. The next morning, I updated my accounts. Removed their address. Revoked billing access. Blocked any number that wasn't already saved. It was like closing a tab that had been open for 10 years too long. And it was quiet. Not lonely. Free. The part they never asked about, part they never even pretended to be curious about, was how I got here. How I went from being the quiet one to the man who could shut their house down with 3 clicks. They never asked about the nights I spent in a shared apartment eating ramen with no heat while I wrote code under 3 blankets. Or the day I pitched my first prototype in a garage with duct tape holding up the whiteboard. Or how I drained my savings, every cent, to cover the legal fees for our first patent. To them, I just did something with computers. But what did I do? I built something from scratch. I co-founded Verdant Energy Systems, a clean tech firm focused on affordable modular wind and solar solutions for rural homes. We weren't a unicorn startup. We weren't sexy enough to land on the front page of TechCrunch. But we were profitable, stable. And by year 3, we were expanding into 5 states. While Jessica was busy updating her Instagram bio every time her boyfriend's title changed, I was closing contracts with public schools to overhaul their heating systems. While Dad was sighing about kids these days never wanting to work, I was managing a team of 35 engineers and contractors. But none of it mattered. Because I didn't wear a blazer. Because I didn't brag. Because I didn't fit their dinner party narrative. And so they wrote me off. One time, when Jessica was home from college, we ran into each other in the driveway. I'd just driven in from a site visit, boots muddy, shirt wrinkled, hair a mess from the wind. She looked at me, looked at the truck, and said, "Still doing that plumbing stuff?" I blinked. "Solar installations, actually. Rural electrification." She nodded like I'd said, "Mailman," and walked back inside. Later that same year, I got a call from my dad. "We're having trouble with the heater. Could you take a look?" He didn't say, "I know this is your field." Didn't say, "We're proud of what you've built. Just come fix it." Like I was the family handyman. Like I owed them every wrench and wire just to stay visible. But I showed up anyway. Because that's who I was then. I spent 6 hours crawling through that crawl space, rewiring their unit, replacing a faulty capacitor, and optimizing the efficiency so their power bill would drop by 15%. Jessica never said thank you. Dad nodded once and went back to watching the game. Mom offered me reheated leftovers and called me our helpful little guy. And the kicker? That weekend, when her boyfriend came over, Jessica introduced him to everyone and introduced me as the guy who helped with the heater. Not my brother. Not an engineer. Not a business owner. Just the help. It should have hurt more. But honestly, it just made things clearer. That was the moment I stopped wanting to be seen. And started learning how to disappear on my terms. So when they finally cut me out, when they told me not to come home, not to ruin the optics, I didn't snap. Because I had already left. They just didn't notice until the lights went out. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I hadn't planned to see them again. Not at a grocery store. Not at a gas station. Not at the one restaurant I liked in my neighborhood, the one I thought they'd never bother coming to. But life has a mean sense of humor. It was about a month after the birthday disaster. I was sitting alone at Birch and Rye, a cozy upscale spot tucked into the quieter part of town. Dim lighting. Real wood tables. No TikTok influencers in sight. My kind of place. I just finished a meeting with a new local contractor and decided to treat myself. A glass of Cabernet. Roasted duck. Quiet. And then I heard it, the unmistakable laugh. Jessica's. I looked up, and sure enough, she was walking in with our parents. No Nathan. Just them. She was dressed to the nines. Dad in his usual sports coat. Mom in pearls. It was like watching a rerun of a show I'd been written out of. They didn't see me at first. They were ushered to a table across the room, full of energy, full of presentation. That's when our waiter Caleb, a college-aged kid with a sharp memory, walked over to their table and said, "Welcome. Just so you know, your brother's already dining with us tonight." I almost choked on my wine. Jessica looked up, confused. "My brother?" "Yeah," Caleb said, nodding toward me with a smile. "Ryan comes here a lot. He helped the owners switch to solar last year. Saved them thousands. I didn't plan it. Didn't stage it. Didn't need to." Jessica turned. Saw me. Froze. Dad looked like someone had just handed him a live grenade. Mom smiled, that tight, pageant smile, and waved like we were old college friends spotting each other at a reunion. I didn't wave back. I just nodded. Calm. Controlled. The moment hung in the air like static before a storm. Eventually, To no one's surprise, Dad stood up and walked over. "Ryan! Didn't expect to see you here." His tone was forced casual, but there was an edge to it, like he wanted to show strength but had forgotten how to hold it. I set my glass down. "I live 6 blocks away. I eat here sometimes." He shifted. "Listen. I've been meaning to reach out." I tilted my head slightly. "To apologize?" He blinked. "Well, to discuss everything. That birthday thing. It got out of hand. It wasn't a thing. You told me not to call you my father." He hesitated. "I said that in frustration." "You meant it." We stood there in silence, the hum of the restaurant wrapping around the awkwardness like insulation. Then I added, "You know what the wild part is? If you just asked what I do, I might have told you." He looked genuinely confused. "Jessica said you do something with tech. Some handyman type work." I smiled. Not warmly. "I co-invert energy. We handle solar infrastructure in 5 states. I built it from the ground up. That's something with tech pays for the roofs over hundreds of families' heads." His face paled. "You never told us that. You never asked?" I stood up, pulled a couple of bills from my wallet, and laid them on the table. "Dinner's covered. That's the last thing I'll ever pay for on your behalf." He didn't stop me. As I walked past their table, Jessica looked up at me, eyes wide, jaw tight, unsure if she should be angry or ashamed. She didn't speak. Didn't need to. Because the silence between us was louder than anything she could have said. I walked out into the cold air, head high, coat open, not a single ounce of bitterness in my chest. Just peace. Because now they knew. And more importantly, now they were the ones unsure if they were good enough to sit next to me. You know what the wildest part is? I didn't feel triumphant after that night at the restaurant. Didn't walk away with my chest puffed out, or a movie score swelling behind me. I just felt quiet. And real. Like something heavy had finally been peeled off my back, not ripped off in rage, but gently removed, like a coat I didn't realize I'd been wearing for too long. I went home that night, poured a drink, and sat on my balcony watching the lights of the city blink in the distance. And for once, I didn't wonder if any of them would ever call. Didn't check my phone. Didn't hope for an apology. Because I didn't need one. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped waiting for people to care. Stopped needing to be invited. Stopped showing up out of obligation, or guilt, or that exhausting hope that this time might be different. I'd built a life. A good one. With work I believed in, people who respected me, and a future I wasn't trying to escape from. And no one in my family ever asked how. Not once. But that was their loss. Because the version of me they rejected, the not good enough, not polished, not professional, one. He's the one who built all of this. They wanted someone more refined. Someone they could brag about without feeling like they were stretching the truth. But I wasn't built for their dinner parties or carefully edited social media posts. I was built for hard work. Quiet consistency. Resilience. And that turned out to be enough. More than enough. I haven't spoken to Jessica since that night. No texts. No olive branches. I heard Nathan broke up with her shortly after. Something about her family dynamic didn't sit right. Funny how the truth has a way of sticking, even when you try to scrub it clean. As for my parents, they've reached out a few times. Mostly surface-level stuff. Dad forwarded me a photo of a house upgrade he made. Mom texted me a link to a news article she thought I'd find interesting. Neither mentioned the birthday. Or the restaurant. Or the years of silence. And I didn't reply. Not out of spite. Just because I didn't need to. Sometimes the best closure is realizing you no longer need to explain yourself to people who never listened in the first place. These days, life is quieter. Simpler. I still run my company. Still walk to the shop with coffee in hand. Still eat alone sometimes, not because no one wants me, but because I finally enjoy my own company. And you know what? That's enough, too. Because after everything, the rejection, the betrayal, the humiliation, I came out with one thing they never expected. Peace. Not the fake kind you post about for likes. The real kind. The kind you earn when you stop chasing people who only clap for you in private, and start clapping for yourself, out loud.